away.
Hopefully, there we go.
Every,
That's my cute
yeah,
picture I found. All right, Tonya.
Yeah,
go.
there we go. I'm just going to close everything down.
Yeah.
It's been one of those mornings for me. My internet, crazy storms here in California. My name is Tonya Pitts. Good morning. Good afternoon. I am your and Belinda's co-host today for virtual BOOZY brunch. Thank you for joining us this morning, this afternoon. We've got a great brunch lined up for you. As always, we like to tell you all about our fabulous and award-winning guests that have been on previously with us. Erin Hutchinson has got some recipes up in the New York Times right now, which you should definitely go and check out. And please, did everyone make sure that they got their recipes today? We said we were going to bring in the heat today, and it's coming in hot. Hot chicken recipe. I hope everybody's prepared or got something hot and delicious and something delicious in their glasses as well for what we have to drink. But make sure, we want you to post and tag everyone, hashtag virtual boozy brunch. And always post your pictures. We want to share everything, and we want everybody to have a fabulous time with us, always. And I'm going to turn it over to Belinda.
So just a few sort of housekeeping things that we always talk about every single week. That's that we do have some chat action. So we love when you participate there. You can also direct message anyone who you think is cute on screen today for those singles that are joining us. That's myself included. But I'm a little too busy hosting to DM you. You also have the option up on the top right to press that little grid, and you can either watch the spotlight, which right now is just me, or you can spend the entire time, which is what I do, watching the entire gallery, so you can kind of peep in on everybody's virtual. That Kennefic Ranch background, that's real. I mean, so amazing. But I love to see how everybody's living and what they're doing and spending their Sundays. So you can do that by pressing gallery view throughout the course of this. And we also love that you're all here. There are a lot of us who feel like it's very important to continue to shelter in place and stay home. I know that this originally was begun so that we could brunch together and replace that restaurant experience that a lot of us miss. So good for you for still finding comfort and connection by being in a Zoom. I know that a lot of people have Zoom fatigue. I mean, we had it weeks and weeks ago, but I don't know. I kind of love seeing all of you and all these smiling faces and being together and drinking along and not alone and cooking along and not alone every single week. So we're going to keep doing this. So we want to keep seeing you here. And then I want to just thank last week's guests. We had an amazing rice baby and recovery situation. So thank you to everybody who appeared last week. And also this week, we have an amazing lineup as always. And I'm into day 5 of my 21-day recovery. So this is the only alcohol I've had in a while. So I might be extra fun today. We have some amazing things planned. So the first thing we're gonna do is to visit Napa Valley together, socially distanced, and try 3 different wines from Kennefic Ranch, this amazing family-owned business in Calistoga. And then there's a group of us that are going to be hot chickening or hot eggplanting or hot tofuing along with Chef Patrick Sheeran and Chef Ryan Henderson, who are live in Chicago, right off Michigan Avenue at their new brewery restaurant, Crushed by Giants. And then lastly, we're gonna be with a super smart gal, Andrew Wise, who used to be a personal trainer of mine back in the days when there was David Barton in Chicago. And she's gonna give us some great tips for those of us who have small businesses, which is a lot of people here in the zone. And she's gonna help a few guests here, audience members who are brave and daring and want to, with their Zoom setup. Because I think a lot of people don't realize that, you know, we're all watching. If we're on gallery view, I can see all of your backgrounds and whether you put on makeup or not. So it is important these days to have your Zoom set up proper and ergonomic and all of that. So that is our plan for this week. And I am super ready and thirsty, although I have been drinking a good bit of Sauvignon Blanc. So I'm going to turn it over to Tonya so she can introduce our super brilliant and gorgeous guests from Kennefic Ranch.
So welcome everyone. Welcome Chris from Kennefic Ranch. We are so excited to have you here today with us. You've got 3 wines for us to try and to taste with you. And I understand that it's blazing hot on the mountain today in Calistoga. And it just started raining a little bit. So I'm not sure if we're going to be able to go out or not. You were going to give us kind of a winery tour for vineyards. But we will do our best with what we have. But we want to hear all about your family story, how everything has come to be for you all. It's small, handcrafted, and we love that. That's who we want to support. We want to support everybody, but especially family, small run businesses.
Tell us everything, Chris.
Please tell us.
Well,
and everybody's thirsty.
Yeah, exactly. We're all thirsty. So thank you all for having us on today. Unfortunately, we're, like Tonya was saying, we're dealing with very weird weather pattern here in Northern California, where we never get thunderstorms and rain, but this morning, all of a sudden, we're getting kind of these patches of thunderstorms coming in. So this is the view from our ranch house that's kind of overlooking some of the vineyards that we have here. Like Tonya was saying, we're all a family organization. So this is my sister, Caitlin. She decided to come out and shelter in place starting last March. And then Napa was just so lovely that she just stuck around. So
Haven't left.
Yeah. But a little bit about our background and our history. Our dad was actually originally from the Midwest, from Minnesota. Always grew up with a passion for agriculture and farming. So he knew that he really wanted to get involved with that when he got a little bit older. Ended up moving out to San Francisco in the 60s. And slowly kind of turned his sights up to Napa Valley and really fell in love with the town of Calistoga. I mean, as you can see, what's not to love out here. So he ended up starting to look for a property, bought his first property in 1978, which he ended up selling about 2 years later and moved on to our current property that we're at today. So we've got about 125 acres planted, 250 acres total. Everything that we're producing is all estate grown, so we're not buying fruit from anywhere else in the valley or anywhere else, any other county, anything like that. From about 1980 until 2000, he was still a doctor in the city of San Francisco and basically coming up on the weekends, doing all the farming, getting his hands dirty and getting a nice tan on the tractor. And then finally in 2000, he moved up to Calistoga full-time, retired from his practice in San Francisco. And then we did our first vintage of our own wine in 2002, which was our Cabernet Sauvignon. We only produced about 300 cases of that vintage. And then we've kind of slowly expanded from there to be producing Cabernet Franc, Sauvignon Blanc. The 3 wines that we're showing you today are kind of 3 of our flagship wines. So they're some of our favorite, and where we say our largest production, that's still a very small boutique production. So Cabernet Sauvignon is the biggest production that we do. But even with that, that's only at about 800 to 1,000 cases. A lot of the wines that people may be familiar with, if you're looking at the Caymuses or Navis of the world, kind of these bigger brands, you start to get into 30, 40, 50,000 cases, plus even 100,000+ cases.
That's
so
giant, Chris. And they still sort of try to market those as like, oh, it's all artisan, and you're like,
no.
Yeah. They are still family operations. So there's a little bit of a difference there just with the large family operations. Technically, Gallo is still a family operation. And then our family operation where it's basically just for us. So
Very small.
very,
and
very
they're
small.
completely different, because those are corporations and you're still small and family run. They make hundreds of thousands of cases of wine. They sell fruit to people, they buy fruit from people. Whereas, you're small and you are a boutique brand. And super excited. So we should taste some wine, but I also think as we taste through, can you tell us about the terroir and what makes it so absolutely fantastic? Because I love Calistoga and just the different terroirs and soil contents as well that really make up these really beautiful wines.
Tonya, we should also just tell everyone, Chris was generous to provide us with like technical information about all the wines. So those are posted at the very start of the chat if you want to have some information about, I don't know, like fermentation temperatures and stuff, right?
If you want to get completely geeky and nerdy with it.
Yeah, someone's got a question.
Farhana, you want to ask your question?
Go ahead.
I was just curious, given the size of your vineyard, do you guys sell direct to consumer or do you go through retail? I know some of the smaller vineyards I've heard in California, if they're selling to retail, they just feel like they lose too much margin. It's not economic. So I'm just curious for you guys, what works?
That's such a great question.
Yeah, great question. True. So we kind of have an interesting setup because of our large acreage up here, 125 acres planted. Primarily, we say we're growers. So 90% of the fruit that we grow on the property here, we're selling off to other wineries. The winery itself kind of started as our dad wanting to be able to travel to places and go around and do these wine dinners in Montana or Colorado or Wyoming or wherever he really enjoyed going to. So even now today, about 80% of the wines that we sell go through the 3-tier system. So they're out in markets like Chicago, Georgia, California, Montana, and Wyoming still. So all those places. And then only about 20% is direct to consumer. So we kind of have a unique setup here. We waited a while to actually start to build our own winery here. So after about 10 years of trying and working with the county, we finally got approved to build a winery here. So that's going to be coming on in the next about 2 years or so, that we'll have a physical winery and tasting room on site. But we used to have a little presence in downtown Calistoga, kind of jumped around to a couple other places, but primarily we're distributing 80% of our wines.
That's pretty awesome, especially within these times with having a small winery. Most wineries that are family owned and small like yourself usually do direct to consumer. So yeah, it's unique what you're doing. And hopefully, fingers crossed, and with all our fabulous brunchers, we'll change that paradigm for you.
There you go.
And be, much more DTC, direct to consumers, you guys. That's what that means.
I'm in for the full production of the Sauvignon Blanc because I love it.
Yeah.
Can you tell us
about it?
Yeah. So our Sauvignon Blanc, obviously, we get very, very hot temperatures up here in Calistoga. Calistoga actually has the biggest diurnal swing out of anywhere else in the valley. So what that means is the biggest difference between the hottest days and the coolest nights. So where we are, the valley kind of tapers off and really gets pretty narrow. So it traps a lot of that heat in during the day. But then it's also the furthest west out of anywhere in the valley. You can kind of see a slow arc as you go through the valley. And so at night, we get a lot of cool air off the ocean that comes up the Russian River and pops over basically the hills that are on the other side of the valley here behind us, and kind of cools this area down a little bit. So what that does is it gives the grapes a lot of time to recover at night, but then really ripen up during the day. So it's kind of a nice swing. So the Sauvignon Blanc, really this should be Cabernet Sauvignon that's grown in the soils that we're planting the Sauvignon Blanc in. So not many people are doing this. We also farm this like Cabernet Sauvignon. So we're not producing 10 tons to the acre or anything like that. We're trying to stick to about 2 to 3 tons per acre. So it's really high quality fruit that's originally coming off there. A little bit longer hang times. You do get kind of that bright flavors in there. But then we age this in neutral French oak barrels. So that's where you almost get a little bit more of a creaminess, kind of a roundness on the palate. My favorite thing about our Sauvignon Blanc is I always say it's right in the middle of a lot of other Sauvignon Blancs. So you don't get the overly tropical style that you find in New Zealand a lot of the time.
Right.
But you also don't get the overly acidic that you'll find in Napa quite often. So it's kind of a nice, well-balanced, perfect for a hot day.
So it's like a little tropical, right, Tonya? Like it's so nice, and I love the warm climate.
It is, and I'm glad that you explained the diurnal shift and the warm and the heat, and then the grapes resting, the vines resting, because that's why we get that kind of pop of acid, but really unctuous fruit. But putting it in that neutral oak just kind of tames everything down a little bit so that it's not quite so acidic and doesn't have quite as much minerality, but just enough to be mouth-watering. So yes, if you've drank most of this Sauvignon Blanc this morning, if it's your coffee or your tea, that's okay.
Yeah,
There's
That's
only
all right. Yes, see?
good way to start off. We've made a dent too. So
That's right. So it did its job. So
Mhm.
now, what are we going to taste next? We're on Duret now.
So next we are moving on to our Cabernet Franc. Like we were saying earlier, we've got a unique dump bucket here, so we can just go right out to the vineyards.
And now you know it's not a
That's such a waste. That
The
hurts my
dump
heart to
bucket, the
see.
dump bucket of nature.
Yeah, exactly.
No, there's no dumping in baseball. No.
That's right.
Uh,
Absolutely not for virtual boozy brunch.
Very true.
So the next wine that we have for you, this is our Cabernet Franc 2016. So back in 2003, this was actually the second wine that we ever started producing behind our Cabernet Sauvignon. When our dad was tasting this, it just kind of had this nice elegance, kind of a lighter flavor to it. So he decided to name this one after my sister. So it's called the Caitlin Select. It is a little bit bigger for a Cabernet Franc. A lot of people aren't that familiar with the standalone Cabernet Franc, since typically it's just used as a blending varietal. So typically it gives off a lot of kind of herbaceous, green bell peppery taste to it. With ours, because we get such hot temperatures here in Calistoga, it really gives it a chance to ripen up. That, and we blend quite a bit of Petit Verdot into here, about 9%. So it really gets to be a little bit of a bigger, bolder style of Cabernet Franc.
So you all, when we add Petit Verdot, the Petit Verdot is giving it structure, and it's what I call the Coca-Cola shape, if you would like. And that's what we get, and it's delicious. It's really, really good. I'm a huge fan of Cabernet Franc, and this is as Cabernet Franc should be. And you can drink it on its own. It's going to go lovely with our what's coming next. I'm not going to give that away. Mark, you're going to talk all about that. But this is wonderful. And it's not typical either.
It's
and
not.
So
Yeah.
the next is in our third and last
Hold
one.
on. We have to let Caitlin say a word because this cuvee is.
That's right. This is yours.
I love it. I'm a huge Cabernet Franc fan too. Like, I'm so into this style. Wowza. I will also take the full production of this.
The only quick thing that I was just going to add is, as Chris was saying, that diurnal shift and the fact that we're up here, those hot days and cool nights, unlike maybe some producers in the Central Valley where the temperatures are pretty consistent day and night, just the complexity of the temperatures here, and then the complexity of the land and the terroirs you can see, from the mountains behind to some of the valley floor, then we're coming up the valley floor. All of our wine just has a whole nother level of complexity to it that you may not see in other producers. And so this Cab Franc is pretty special and unique. You get a lot of Cab Francs that could taste, I feel like, almost more like a Pinot, like they're just lighter, they're lacking. And what you just said, Tonya, about like the shaping of the Coca-Cola bottle, like just the complexity of this. And often you get Cab Francs that are just kind of one size fits all, and that's not what you have here. So
it's either watery and green, or it's usually really heavy and thunderous and just a lot. But this is absolutely, it's gorgeous.
I also see a couple people mentioning, Tonya, that they're going to purchase the brunch package, and you can still get it on the website direct. So for those who are asking, for me, I'm trying to support all of my friends and buy direct from wineries whenever possible, because I think that's the way to support them best. So,
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we have all these, the 3 wines that you're trying today in a little package on our website, VBB package. And then we also have them individually as well, just in case you're interested in trying one or another or anything.
this is painful, but I'm sorry.
Don't toss yourself, Caitlin.
She just threw herself out the window.
Throw yourself out the window. Don't do that.
Oh my God.
And our third wine.
I'm ready for some Calistoga Cabernet.
There we go.
So after my dad named the Cabernet Franc after my sister, he decided it was kind of only fair to name the Cabernet Sauvignon after me. It's kind of the big, bold Cabernet Sauvignon from Calistoga. We use quite a few different things in here, primarily, obviously, Cabernet Sauvignon with that on the label. In California, it has to be 75% of the varietal to be able to put that on the label. Our Cabernet Sauvignon is 90% Cabernet Sauvignon, and then we use 5% Petit Verdot, 3% Merlot, and 2% Cabernet Franc. So kind of a little bit of everything in there. This is really, though, your big, bold, go-to steak wine, but it also is very approachable and easy to drink on its own. So it may be a little bit biased, but it's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
So I'll tell everyone the blend, and even though it's small amounts of all of those varietals, it is still a blend. And those varietals actually, because they're small amounts, they present themselves and you see them. And this is why it's lush and it's easy drinking, but yet still really full and fabulous.
I need
like all of us and how we're going to be. Yes.
I see Bora following along. Bora, are you finding all the different notes in the Cabernet Sauvignon?
Just having smelled it, it's really complex. Like you can actually, there's like a full-bodiedness to it, and it just smells like that California cab that, on the nose at least. So I'm looking forward to tasting it. But yeah,
I know Bora is super into wine, so I wanted to find out how she was feeling out your wines, which is so fun.
Nice to meet you, Bora.
So yeah.
And it's amazing too. I mean, this is anything that's labeled, and you probably all know this, but anything that's labeled one varietal. So a cab, a Cabernet Franc has to be 75% of that grape. So this is 75% Cab Sav, but then this, again, like you said, so much complexity because there are other blending grapes in there. And it's just, obviously Napa Cab is king, but we just find ours is, it's definitely heavy, and it can stand up to an amazing steak or like a great chocolate dessert or hot chicken. But it also, it carries the complexity carries itself. So you could drink it on its own, which is nice too.
I can't wait to have this with hot chicken.
Hot chicken. I'm getting hungry.
I know.
All right.
Guys,
So
and
Mark, take it away. Take us to Foodland.
Yeah, let's
go
go.
to Hot Chicken Land.
I am insanely excited to introduce the next two guests from Crushed by Giants. We have two chefs. One is Chef Ryan Henderson, and the other is Chef Patrick Sharon. I'm sorry. Chef Ryan comes to us from Maple and Ash and Income Tax, which is one of sadly it's not open anymore, but it was a great restaurant in Edgewater neighborhood where I used to live in Chicago.
Mark also, New Yorkers might know Ryan from working with Wiley Dufresne at WD.
Oh, that's right. Thank you for letting everyone know. And then Chef Patrick, he was the executive chef at the Trencherman, which was one of my all-time favorite restaurants, and I miss his food so much. And I don't know how Belinda did it, but we are going to get his secret hot chicken recipe. So I feel like we need to get started right away and get cooking. Take it away, chefs.
Here we go.
Hey there.
Hi.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we're really excited about this. We just opened this new restaurant in River North. And so we put a brewery where there's not a lot of other breweries so that we could, drink good beer, but also eat good food downtown. So there's a bunch of like big steakhouses and stuff around here, but not a good place to go get a drink and some food and a bite of foods. So we decided to do something a little less fancy and a little more like fun. And so, we are in River North on the corner of Rush and Ohio. It's the old Heaven on 7 space, which was also a good name, but we decided to do the brewery thing. So we were very fortunate to get to work with Chef Pat Sheeran of very much Chicago fame.
Yay!
And so again, we're just doing some simple stuff and doing just with stuff that pairs well with beer. So today we decided we wanted to do a fried chicken sandwich. And instead of just keeping it a simple fried chicken sandwich, we decided to take some inspiration from the Nashville hot sandwich. So it's not traditional Nashville hot sandwich, but it's having some fun with the idea.
For sure. I mean, it's based, the recipe is definitely based on the Nashville hot, but kind of toned down a little bit so it doesn't overpower the beer. But we think it's really tasty. Hopefully you have some thigh meats marinating already, and a little bit of hot sauce and buttermilk, and we're gonna put it together here for you.
Pat, we've been marinating away. We're ready.
So we have these ridiculously big old cans that are available for sale online. So it's the size of 2 pints. So I recommend you pour yourself a little, and then we'll start cooking.
There you go.
Amazing.
So while you're cooking, I am just dying to know. So Ryan, you have three other pubs that you've opened with your restaurant group, and then you decided to open the fourth, Crushed by Giants, during a pandemic. Please talk me through that.
Well, the plan was not to open during a pandemic. We've been building this space out since last October, and the original goal was to open it in May. But the world had other plans, and so it all got delayed, and the world turned upside down. And so we're just trying to figure out what we do one step at a time. But yeah, we do have, the group has 3 other breweries around the city. Dry Hop Brewers, which opened like 7 years ago now, so it's kind of been an institution in Lakeview. And then followed by Corridor Brewery, which is on the Southport corridor. And then most recently we opened a pizza joint called Roebuck Pizza right next to Dry Hop over on Broadway and Belmont, more or less.
Nice.
This is indeed the fourth one. And we were just sticking to the idea of, providing delicious beer made on site, available on site, and then pairing it with real food. Most breweries unfortunately don't have the best food, and so the idea is we're using real food. We're using food from our friends that are at some farms, cooked by great chefs. And so it's not like, reinventing the wheel, but it's just doing it well and next to beer brewed on site.
Okay, I think my oil's hot. Let's do it.
Okay, so I'm gonna transfer to like a more direct view, I think.
Cool. Can I also ask while you're doing that? I don't have a oil thermometer. I can use like a meat thermometer. Is that gonna work or no?
Oh, definitely, that'll work. It's mostly like keep an eye on it,
I see Pat like just laughing at me.
Aside from that, you're good.
Sorry, Chef.
You can kind of figure out how hot the oil is by when we go to put the chicken in.
Okay, because you can also do that water thing, right? Like put in a little.
Real bad idea. No
Okay,
water.
don't do that.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind.
Right.
Chopstick in.
Even with your splatter guard, not a good idea.
Okay, never mind. I'm ready.
Would you be able to turn on my other
Yes,
camera?
of course. Hold on. Is it under Ryan? Sorry, guys. There we go. I asked you to start video. Let's see if we can make this work.
Yeah.
Did we do it? I'm also going to make you a co-host. You have all the power, Ryan.
Oh no.
Yeah, we did it.
Oh, there we go. Yay!
All right. So the first step is hopefully you have your chicken or eggplant or anything like that in the buttermilk hot sauce that is seasoned. And so we're just going to take our, in this case, chicken thighs, and we're going to put it into a dredge. And so our dredge is a little different than a normal dredge. We added some cornmeal and some cornstarch, which is going to help it crisp it up. It's important to get a good coating on this and make sure the flour is touching all the areas. And that's just to make sure that it sticks on. And then if you compress it like that, you make sure you get flour, and then it also creates some of those like cornflake tendencies that you'll see in fried chicken, because it's the layers of flour and wet dredge.
Like cornmeal's unusual, right? To add that into this dredge.
Yeah, it is something a little different. It adds a little flavor and also a little crispiness. And it keeps to our, we're kind of doing some tacos and sandwiches and stuff like that. So it's on brand is our idea.
Ryan, we also have some requests for delivery to New York City. So per our conversation before, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, talk to Belinda. We're working on it as we speak.
So speaking of delivery to New York, I am fascinated by the artwork. Do you have, is there a story behind the artwork on the beer cans and the logo of the restaurant?
Well, so we actually paired with a local artist who worked at 555 for a while, and now she's doing her own thing. Her name is Alison Demayonovich. I'm sorry, I'm going to butcher the Russian, but her website is Think by Wink, and she's awesome. She did a great job. So she designed, it was her concept from the ground up to get like a cool, you know, art drawn monster onto the Chicago scene, which is really cool.
It looked amazing, and I absolutely love it. And what's the story behind the actual name, Crushed by Giants?
So the name it was just like a brainstorming idea of like, well, we're kind of up against it. We're the little guy surrounded by major corporations, really. And so actually we're on the second floor of a building, and the third floor is AMC. And so all around us are these big companies and conglomerates. And so we're just the little guy, little David versus Goliath kind of thing.
We love it. We want to support you. It's so good. Okay, Mark, I'm ready. I'm dread.
Yes. Let's fry.
Then let's fry, baby.
But also for the So for the eggplant and the tofu, I would suggest let it hang out in the dredge for a little bit longer.
Okay.
The veggies don't exude a lot of their liquid right away, and so you want them to like kind of hang out and kind of form that crust, you know. If they hang out, like a lot of times we'll fry tofu, we'll actually let it sit for a couple hours in like wherever the dredge is, and so the liquid will kind of weep and form a bond with the flours, with the dredge, and like make a really great crust. So.
Awesome. Thanks, Chef. So I'll put my chicken in first.
All right. So while that's hanging out, while the dredge is hanging out, we were actually going to make the ranch. So again, here, yeah. You know, the recipe is very much based on using. Well, I love ranch dressing, delicious to begin with, but I always thought it was kind of like missing a little bit, like freshness. So we make the ranch that we amp up all of the herbs that are traditionally in ranch, and just kind of bring all those flavors forward. So a little bit more onion, use regular onion, as well as a lot of fresh chives, more parsley, gives a great, really vibrant color, and also just makes it really delicious. So we have in the blender to start. We have our herbs and mayonnaise. Again, if you want to make your own aioli, you can. Almonds is great too. It is a quick blend.
For those of you that have made this or haven't made it yet, this is literally the best ranch I've ever had in my life.
Ever?
Like I love Hidden Valley Ranch packets because I think it's the knees, but with all that added, this is the best ranch I've ever had.
Oh my God. Wait, so Mark,
super
also,
fresh and super flavorful.
It's
job.
so good.
It's really good.
Also, Chef Patrick, you mentioned a chef that I wasn't familiar with, Chef Abra, until Karen Bloom, who's a regular for BOOZY Brunch, like drew her to me. So can you, like, what is the story with Abra? This is so interesting, and this seems like a book that we should all have. If Patrick's there. Well, he's making the ranch happen. I love it.
All right, so we'll grab the chicken.
Yeah, so we'll do the chicken now. All right.
Yeah, chicken.
I'm ready to fry. Who's ready to fry? Here we go. Jess is ready to fry. She's going in with the eggplants. Go, 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 girl.
There we go.
It's frying.
To be safe. Okay.
Amazing. We have so many cameras on so much frying. There goes.
Also, like, kind of saute this if you want it, as put some oil on.
I'm scared. I didn't put mine
I'm
in.
going to do an aggressive saute.
Don't be scared, Belinda. Go for it.
Oh my God, did you put yours in? Oh my God. Here we go.
See what's happening.
Okay, I'm frying.
All right, B, let's do it. Oh, there it is.
I'm frying with you. Let's fry together.
Oh my God, I love your splatterproof. That's fabulous. I need one of those.
I don't know, this is looking good at Crushed by Giants. I see frying happening. I also see like a digital thermometer situation. What's going on there?
Yeah, Pat makes sure that he gets all the fanciest stuff, but this is not how we traditionally fry. It's just more of an idea of how to do it at home. To kind of get a sense that you're around the right temperature. It will change over time, but just to make sure that you're kind of in the right ballpark. If you don't have a digital thermometer, using your eye is really going to get you most of the way there to see how fast it's browning. If it's browning too fast, turn it down. If it's not browning at all, maybe turn it up a little bit. But generally, you want to keep your flame relatively low and constant whenever you're deep frying like this.
I also don't have 2 pairs of tongs, so I use chopsticks and tongs.
Chopsticks is the best way to do it. If you have long chopsticks, you're ahead of the game already.
You're so smart and fabulous.
Woo! We actually have a question from Karen, so let's put our beloved Karen on screen. Karen, what's your question for the chefs?
I never know what to do with the used oil at home safely. How do I dispose of that? How many times can you use it too?
This is such a great question. Ryan?
Absolutely. So I would recommend, so what I usually do is I usually have an old glass jar or something like that. You want to make sure you use glass, or if you in a pinch an aluminum can of something like that. And so you pour it into the glass jar while let it cool down so you're not handling hot oil. And then you want to put it into a glass or aluminum container. And then depending on how often you use it, you can just throw it away. Or I usually keep a glass jar of oil at home that I use for deep frying. And it's very much a visual cue. So at restaurants, we just look at how dark the oil gets as a determinant of how many times we can use it. Because it's really going to depend on what you're frying and how much of it you're frying. And so as long as it looks appetizing, basically, as long as it doesn't look gross, you're fine to keep using it. But as soon as you're like, well, I don't know if I would want to cook with that, just throw it away and get some new ones. But you can use it a lot more often than you think. For instance, in a conventional, or like our kitchen deep fryers, we'll fry, many orders of French fry and chicken and then we'll replace it every other day. And so at home, you can probably get away with 4 or 5 times, depending again on what you're frying and how often you're frying.
So Ryan, we've still got a little bit of interference. It actually sounds like we're talking to you in 2050. Just make sure one of the devices, whichever one, is muted and the volume's all the way down. But it's great to get all of this great insight. And I've got frying going on, so I feel good.
All right. So for those of us that have the frying done, how much of the cooking oil do we throw into the hot dust?
What's that?
How much oil do we put into the hot dust for those of us that are done with the frying?
Okay, so I would do about 2 ounces. We use a 2-ounce ladle.
So you basically take the oil and you put it in
A little bit
here.
more. You want to make it should look like mud.
Okay.
Like wet mud.
So you add the oil into the hot dust. And
Yeah,
then,
the oil activates all the spices, and then you want to get the chicken in there at the same time. So it's not, the chicken's not absorbing that oil. It's just absorbing all the flavors from that spice. It's going to pick up some of the oil. Like it's like frying your spices when you're making, anything. You're just kind of really getting them activated.
amazing.
Wow.
So what would you say, Chef Patrick, what's the fry time generally for a chicken thigh? Like what you've got going there?
About 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Okay, perfect. Good. So some people are 5 minutes and done. I see Fry-Dye New York City already in the hot dust.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And for everyone who hasn't met Dustin, who's behind Murchie, He is also an official member of the virtual Boozy Brunch production team, although generally unnamed. So, yay, Dustin. I'm still I did a chicken breast instead of a thigh, so I'm still frying. I see Jess. That's Jess with her eggplant going in Rogers Park, Chicago. Way to go, girlfriend. And you've got your hot dust ready? Okay.
All right. So pulling the chicken out and pull one more out here.
Nice. Nice, nice, nice. I'm just going to drink Cabernet Sauvignon from Kennepick Ranch and then, you know.
There you go.
Put right on the spices. Add a little bit of salt. And just kind of work it around. And you see it makes this like kind of delicious smelling mud. That's what we really want to get all over the chicken.
Oh
It
my
looks
God.
like red mud, chef.
Red mud.
Red mud.
Amazing.
Let that drain for a second. And again, just kind of work it in there.
Chef, I have a question. Does would a chicken thigh cook faster than a chicken breast or an eggplant then in this scenario, since we've taken your recipe and we've really pivoted?
With a chicken breast, you might want to pound it a little bit. Oh, that looks awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
We've done it!
Boom.
Wow, that looks.
Yeah, the chicken breast probably is a little bit less time, probably like in the 3 to 4 minute range, but you want to make sure it's pounded so it's kind of an even, diameter or depth across, like
Right.
same. That probably,
Oh, look at that.
That's awesome.
that looks delicious.
That looks so good.
Yeah.
So, chef, because I have allergies, I modified a little bit.
Okay.
So, there I am.
Looking good.
That looks
Wow.
Tanya.
And
What did you do different?
So I basically didn't do the red mud because I have severe allergies and I knew what was in it, and
Okay.
I didn't want to turn into the crushed by giants. Everybody today. Usually Benadryl helps me
No judgment here.
in that case, but I'm going to make it again for those that are in my family that are here that love it, that can do it. I will do that for them.
So fun.
We'll make ours.
Yeah, so we'll
This
build
is
our
so-
sandwich right so you can kind of get an idea of what it looks like in the restaurant.
Love it. Yes, please.
Thank you so much.
So amazing. And then we should tell everyone we have to move on in a second. This was so cool and so fun. But Ryan, can you also just give us like a 30-second on the different beers that we sent to
Yeah.
friends and
Yeah.
everyone can order?
Yeah, so again, we make all our beers in-house, and so it changes pretty regularly. But we generally try to have various beers that kind of make everyone happy. So the first beer that we sent is called the 9 Table Kolsch. And so Kolsch is a very traditional German ale, but it drinks a lot like a lager. So if someone's like, I'm looking for a light beer, the Kolsch is a great one to start. And so that's very drinkable, hang out on a patio kind of beer. The second one is called the Radioactive Rain, and that's a berry goza. And so a goza is like a kind of a sour beer, but it has a lot of blackberry in it. And so the blackberry really brings out some of the fruity, unctuous sour notes as well. So you get a little bit of that
Delicious.
fruit beer kind of thing. And then the last one is our flagship beer, more or less, which is a double dry hop hazy beer.
Mm.
And so the double dry hop beers are like all the rage. Nice.
There you go.
The double dry hop beers are the new thing now, because what it does is it by adding the dry hops at the end, you get a lot of the fruit notes and the aromatic notes of the hops. And so you can have these like pineapple and orange and other flavors, which then actually pair really well with hot chicken or hot eggplant or whatever hot life you're living. And so that you can get a lot of those fruit notes and have like a very crushable, drinkable delicious beer. And so that's a new thing that a lot of restaurants are doing, and it's something that we pride ourselves on doing well. So that's the Neon Werewolf, the double dry hop IPA. And so that's kind of the rundown of the 3 beers available today.
Oh, I love that Neon Werewolf.
Yeah, they're all so good. So everyone, this is Crushed by Giants. And if you're not in Chicago and you can't stop by, I can. It's right down the street from me. I will send you whatever you need. And also, like, I mean, did we note how incredible and gorgeous those cans are? I'm so excited to grab a bunch of those and send them to everyone. Okay, so look at this. This is the money shot.
Hey, Chef. Thank you, Chef.
Put it back up. There's the money shot. There it is. That sandwich is so gorgeous.
There we go.
Bravo. So we also love to drink, eat, and then also learn something. So our last guest for today is Andrea Wise, who I might have mentioned is an amazing personal trainer to the stars, but she also started a segment of her business that's for training and coaching. And I am such a believer in coaching, small business owners. So Andrea, we would love for you to come and share some of your best tips. There's so many small business owners here. I know that you had 2 great ideas for things that can really help us. And then we also want you to help us with our Zoom situations, because we've all seen some terrible Zoom situations. Mark has a slide where, they're showing what not to do. But although I do think you have a really great group here that really knows what to do.
Yeah.
But maybe you can help us to make sure that we're getting the ergonomics right and all of our screens right to really show who we are and who we want to be. Andrea, take it away.
Absolutely. I am super excited to be here. So thank you. I loved learning all about the wine and the beer and the hot chicken, and I can't wait to visit because I'm also in the neighborhood. So super excited for that. And like Belinda said, I have known her for a really, really long time.
Really long time.
We used to work together when I was back at David Barton. And so a couple things in terms of small businesses, right? How many of us on here have small businesses, either like a yes in the chat box or a hand raise, right? So lots of us. And so a couple things when it comes to small businesses, especially during the pandemic, is one, really making sure that you are taking care of you. And so sometimes that seems really counterintuitive, right? You're super laser focused on your business and you just want to be productive. But one thing that you can't do is you can't pour from an empty cup, right? If your wine glass or your beer glass is empty, there's just no more drops. And so the same thing goes for you when we're talking about your energy and time management. And so in order to be the best you, it's really, really important that you figure out what you need to do to keep your cup full. So for some of you, that might be doing lots of social Zooms like this. For some of you, it might be meditating or going for a walk or, doing whatever you can during this time in the pandemic to make sure that you're staying social, that you're keeping yourself healthy. Maybe making sure that you are really sleeping well. That's one thing that a lot of people take for granted. And so when you're really thinking about growing and scaling your business, we oftentimes put ourselves on the back burner. And so just really making sure that we do not do that, that we have some kind of support and accountability so that we can stay healthy and well, so that we can show up and serve and be our best.
And Andrea, you always look so fabulous. And I would say like your social game is so on point. If you haven't taken a peek at her website, I mean, the video, you look so amazing and everything. Like, how do you help people to do that? Because that's important. And I know you've got like 6-figure and 7-figure clients that are like trying to get it all right to portray what they want to portray.
Absolutely. And a lot of that I feel like comes from within, right? We need to feel very comfortable in our skin. We need to have a good mindset. We need to be confident so that you can exude your best self and so that you can feel your best. And so that's going to be a little bit different for everyone, but really kind of turning inward and doing a little bit of work to figure out exactly what that means for you. We're all individuals, and really making sure that what makes you tick, you understand. The better that you know yourself, the better that you can be in your business and for everyone in your life in general.
Mark has a picture that I found online for what not to do. Mark and or Dustin, do you mind putting this up? Because I think this is really
yeah.
So this was, I mean, this is online, so I don't feel bad putting these people up on screen, but perhaps this is a typical Zoom for business and or just Zoom in general. And Andrea and I both had a laugh about how people don't realize, like, anytime you're on screen, people are sort of, they're judging, you know, they're deciding whether or not they want to work with you, whether or not, you know, you're up for the promotion these days. Mark, you can take it down because it's just so painful. I mean, I'm looking at everyone's screens here and they're pretty cute, but Andrea, can we look at your sort of camera too? So you
absolutely. So I'm gonna move you guys so you can see camera 2. So I have this handy dandy little riser.
I want that.
So this is on Amazon, and so it's really, really important that, one, for your ergonomic, for your body health, that things are at the right height. So this works really well for me to stand. I can also, you know, sit at the bar, and I can kind of adjust things. I have this handy dandy little Bluetooth keyboard, so I'm like at the right height here. And then lighting is really, really important. And so I have this handy dandy, Belinda has a bunch of these, right? Either a ring light or
so many, it's so dumb.
That's a loom light. And so they're adjustable. So your lighting is really, really important. But when we're on Zoom all the time, you want to make sure that we're not hunched over, that we're not like too close to the camera or any of those things, right? So just really making sure that you can kind of be at eye level or just even a little bit higher. Mark knows all about wrinkles, so you want to have like good angles, right? You don't want to be too close, or you know, you don't want people like looking at your chin the whole time. So really making sure that those things are done and important, so that you are putting your best foot forward. We can't do handshakes, right? But so what you can do is make sure that when you're showing up that you have a really great appearance and really good energy. And in order to do that, you need to feel really good about what you're doing and all the other things.
I love that. I think that's so helpful. So Andrea does all kinds of business consulting, and there's another piece of it. One of my favorite images, which didn't make it into our slideshow today, Andrea with a bunch of like 6 foot tall kind of professional type athletes. And so she does all of this virtual now too, as a lot of people are doing, myself included. Like all of the sharing of your magic and your wisdom happens on portals like this. So Andrea, we have a couple offers for brunchers if they're interested. Can you tell us about those? And those are all linked up in my webpage for Virtual Boozy Brunch. If you click them, you can get the discounts.
Yes, absolutely. So a couple options. So yes, I have worked with a lot of people in person, a lot of range of things, lots of corporate wellness and whatnot as well. So there are some standing classes at 7:30 in the morning. I also do a mobility class if people are feeling, you know, kind of like tight and gluey. So there's options for that. And then there's a separate option if you just wanted to do kind of like a one-off consult. There's an offer for that as well, and a nice little discount for all of the Boozy Brunchers.
So fun. Thank you. And thank you for sharing what you do. It's so amazing.
My pleasure.
I mean, I think she is so talented, and being in day 5 of my 21-day recovery with an ex-Boozy Brunch talent member, it's like, it's so fun. I don't know. You guys, hi. I also want to share with you that we are working on something really special. You can, Nika, go back to those guys. So these are 2 professional dancers, and we decided that we should come up with a virtual Boozy Brunch signature dance that we're all going to do together and put on TikTok and Reels.
And it's going to go viral, and we're all going to be famous. All having to do with wine.
It's your first virtual Boozy Brunch. What did you think?
Say that again.
What did you think? I mean, it's like a fun Sunday, right?
Oh my God, it's so fun. And I'm so jealous. I was telling Mark like privately that, because you know, I told you how much I love to cook, but I was like, no, I just want to be there and like get it, you know, get everything. And I'm like so jealous of everyone's food. I'm like, I should have set something up so I could cook. It's so fun.
I'm excited. So those two
Next
are like
time.
obviously specialists in movement, and like I don't know, I loved watching Henry and Ida doing the salsa a couple weeks ago, and I think that like we could really make this so fun by not just having food, drink, but also always consistent movement. So we're working on that. All of you should work on your dance moves because I'm gonna put you on some commercial and like millions of people are gonna see it. So get ready. We're choreographing our virtual Boozy Brunch dance.
Even been choreographing like in your seat. So if you don't want to stand up, there's, you know, still movement that you can do while sitting down. Or if you had too much wine, you can't stand up, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
The robot. We thought of that.
Robot beer.
Did you see me doing that for the robot pizza? When he said, oh, we have a place called Robot Pizza, and we were like,
Yes.
We love it.
So much fun. I mean, it's going to be so good. But I think that we're getting close to time. So, Tonya, what else do we have to share with the group?
Oh, my goodness. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. Our fantastic guests, Chris and Caitlin from Kennefic Ranch, Chef Ryan, Chef Patrick from Crushed by Giants, and Andrea, thank you so much. Today has been so fabulous and so fun. And this was episode 22. Belinda, tell us about our guests that are going to join us for next week for everyone to join us at Virtual Boozy Brunch.
Tonya, I feel like it was just 2 minutes. That went way too fast, but
it did, didn't it?
We have so many cool people coming up the next couple weeks. So next week, we have Damian Nichols from Not a Plant Shop. That's his Instagram. He comes from restaurant PR and working in restaurants. And now he finds like reclaimed vessels and puts plants in them and then sells them for a good cause. So we're going to have him joining us. Lisa Leventhal is in the center. She is the brand ambassador for a cream liqueur company called Somras. So anybody who sends me their address, some of your addresses I already have, and we will send this to you. We're going to get like the national preview of their new liqueur called Somras Coffee, and we're all going to make a cocktail with Somras Coffee together next week on screen. So make sure I have your mailing address if I don't already have it, because that's going to be super fun. And then Tim's here. Tim, can you tell us what we're going to be doing with you next week?
Sure. Yeah. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
All right. So I'm Timothy Sullivan. I'm a sake samurai and sake educator. And if you have these items in your house, one of these and one of these, I'm going to teach you how to warm sake. And we're going to do a little bit of a sake tutorial. You had sake last week, and this was all about hot stuff today. So we're going to do hot sake next week.
I'm so excited about that.
Right.
Can I just tell you, I've been through, Tonya, you probably too, I've been through so many sake education modules, live and online. And I went to Tim's a couple weeks ago with some pretty famous people, you know, like Ray Isle from Food and Wine Plus Plus. And I was like, oh my God, you're the first person to ever make this make sense for me. Because we've even done a couple sake moments here on Virtual Boozy Brunch, and I still don't know the difference between a Daijinjo and a Junmai Daijinjo and a Honzu. All that.
So Tim, you're going to demystify it for us.
Absolutely. We're going to have so much fun, and I'm going to answer all your sake questions.
Cannot wait. And of course, we'll send you guys out some options for what you could buy to participate in the whole thing. So it's going to be so much fun. Okay, you guys. So it's 1:03. We're only 3 minutes past the mark. I mean, we have like a real TV producer here. Mika, thank you. So that is the end of season 2, episode 22, the Heat episode. And we love spending these Sundays with you. We'll be back next Sunday and many other Sundays to follow. And of course, if you'd like to hang out, we always hang out for a little after party for